Here. We are live in 5, 4, 3. Let me turn this phone down. Hey, good afternoon, folks. Welcome to Realtors Roundtable. Let me apologize in advance if there's any feedback, and we will get that corrected. And let me just make sure, Craig, that we can see the chat, which we can. All right. And let me also make sure that folks got their notifications on this thankful Thursday. It has been raining all day. Is it still raining out there, Corey?
It's drizzling, wet, cold, the regular
We're
schmeckler. But I'm thankful for it.
okay. I'm with you on that. I'm thankful for any day. You said regular schmegular. Just regular schmegular stuff. But yeah, I'm thankful for it any day. And like I said, I need to figure out what is happening with the feedback, which I will do shortly. But today, we're going to go ahead and get started with our topic for today on this Thankful Thursday. And I know, everything here again, it seems like every time we come on, Craig, the world has just gone bananas.
Mm.
Because I had taken a break from TV for several days. I was doing classes and different
Mm-hmm.
things.
Right.
And the minute I turned the TV back on, I was like, yeah, now I'm remembering why I took a break.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it just kind of leads us more into why we need to have these timely conversations that we're having today on this Thankful Thursday around estate planning. But really, though, Craig, I think that's a limiting title because it's really a little bigger than estate planning. So, one of the things, and let me just really make sure that I am trying to get this, and I apologize, folks, I want to get this feedback under control. Give me just a second.
That's a big car.
Hmm. Well, we're going to see what it does.
I don't hear it on my end.
You do not?
Nope.
Okay, very good. So then it must say, hey, then I fixed it. I'm a magician. Yeah, not. I'm the most non-techie person. So, okay. So, one of the things that basically jump started my podcast, and welcome to those of you coming into the room. We always are grateful for our viewers that show up each and every Thursday here on Realtors Roundtable. And I apologize. I was so anxious to start talking about this topic. And I'm Carmellita, the realest realtor you know. I'm joined by my favorite brother from another mother and my colleague in the business and co-host. You can introduce yourself, sir.
Craig Gilbeaux Jr.
Ooh, the crowd goes wild. Boom, 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 boom. And
God.
yes, yes, he's the greatest of all time. And we may very well be joined by our colleague Cleon later in the episode. Can I ask you guys something in the chat? Give us a thumbs up if you hear us clearly. Let me know if we're hearing any feedback so that I can try to adjust audio as we go through our topic for today. And that way I guess learn what I don't know, Craig. I'll learn what I don't know. How about them apples?
Yeah.
So when I started the Realest Realtor podcast, the very first 2 episodes were prompted by an event that occurred in Carteret, North Carolina, to the Reels family. And I know you've heard those podcast episodes. That was back in July of 2019. And one of the things that always, thank you very much for that feedback, Morgan. One of the things that always makes me just feel, or that gives me confirmation that what we do is not in vain is when I hear people start talking about things that I was talking about over a year ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I always know things are not in vain, okay? So the Reels family, just to kind of give a synopsis, and if you have not heard those episodes on the Realest Filter podcast, I will put the link to my Anchor channel and Spotify here in the description of this video after our broadcast. And I would thank you in advance for going over to listen to not just those two episodes, but any of our other episodes that offer a great deal of information for those of you in the viewing audience. The Reels brothers have basically been a part of a family, two generations out of slavery. First generation out, they had basically put in the work. They did everything that they needed to do, gathered as much as they needed to purchase a substantial amount of waterfront property. Okay. And as the story progressed and as families grow, and then Craig, as people died without wills, okay, and that's why I said where I'm going with this because I just sat through all my continuing education classes. We do this all the time in real estate. We're constantly educating ourselves on certain things. And in this case, in this situation, not just for the Reels family, but with many other families, you then run into an issue that is called tenants in common, okay, and joint tenancy. Two different things based on how you have planned for your estate. And that's what we're about to drop fire on today, because that is what people are not availing themselves to. They're not getting educated on. They don't understand. Craig, I don't know. I'm gonna have to pull from you on this one because I'm really asking myself, is it that you don't understand? Or is it that you just don't want to hear? Is it that you'd rather spend $200 on some Jordans as opposed to $200 on a policy? Craig, I'm torn here because I feel
Nope.
like I'm saying the same things all the time, that I'm offering this information, that I'm giving this education for free, but yet and still, we've got people dying without wills. We have people not understanding about the estate planning. And again, like I said, with the Reels family, it was just that not only were family members dying, but when you are joint tenants, like tenants, from a death without a will, what happens is, let's say Craig and I are brother and sister, and our parents both, had all this land, and they died without a will. That means that now Craig and I own all of that. But guess what? God forbid, let's say something happens to me and I got 12 kids. Well, first of all, you already know Realtor wouldn't have 12 kids, but I'm just saying if I did, that means that now means that Craig owns that land with all 12 of my children. Because in order for him to do anything with it, he's going to need the permission and this and that from 12 different people. Or he's going to have to pay 12 different people to do something with that land. And let me tell you, Craig wants to keep the land for the family legacy, but 12 other people may not agree with Craig. And that's when these things get messy, and that is when they get ugly, and that is what we see. Craig, we deal with this every day. We see it all the time. So I think the first thing I really want to get into when we're talking about tenants in common or joint tenancy. Tenants in common are two people who, now let's go to who Craig and I really are. We're not related in any way other than the fact that we will ride and die for each other because we are committed to the growth of our own legacies, right? And we are supportive of each other, as I am with many other folks, as they are of Craig and I, right? So if Craig and I purchased 5 buildings, right? And we, had our paperwork together, which of course we would because we have the knowledge, we have that education, and we became tenants, um, uh, in common, then we would know that that paperwork would clearly say when one of us dies, then our interest, the paperwork would say what happens to our interest. It
Mm-hmm.
could be that Craig and I agree that my one daughter could get my interest. And he may say that's cool. But it doesn't move beyond that one person. We would have established that in that paperwork. Or it could be that I say, yo, I don't have any heirs, I don't have anything. If something happens to me, my entire interest goes to my business.
Mm-hmm.
However we set that up. But where do you learn these things? By coming and showing up on these YouTube channels, by coming to sessions that Craig and I are teaching or doing, you can Google some of this stuff. As a matter of fact, reach out to us. We can tell you. Craig, can you speak, because you are more versed in this area than I am when it comes to estate planning, because so much land has been lost to Black families by the lack of legacy planning. So much land to the tune of billions with a B dollars. What do you feel, not just in the area of doors and dirt and real estate, but when it comes to this estate planning and legacy planning, what are some helpful tips that people really need to hear and hear it right now?
Well, you're absolutely right, Carmellita. There's a huge knowledge gap, skills gap that we as a community have been experiencing, I should say. And so, what I want to first say is, I'm not an attorney, so you need to, like I always say, you don't trust me. Go and verify. Trust but verify. There you go. You trust but verify, but go to an attorney. Take if this person wants to charge you for the information, put that investment in, or find somebody, a family friend, just to articulate. And heck, it's on YouTube and Google for free. So what I will say is this. I'll start with the real estate. When you're talking about estates and stuff like that, most times we're looking at probate. And because most people that I've came across don't have wills, they have this thing called testate and intestate, right? Testate is when you have a will, and intestate is when you don't. And so all that means is how much the government or the courts have in facilitating breaking your estate down. Okay. Now, you will always want to have a will, but even with the will, you're just directing the courts on how they need to break the estate down. When you don't have a will, then the courts have to play mommy and daddy or God and say, okay, according to the rules and the laws of the land, this is how we're going to do. And from my experience, when you don't prepare for things like this, well, before I go there, I need everybody to understand that when it starts coming down to money and assets and things like that, if you're trying to pass on legacy, if you're trying to not have or facilitate or mediate as much as the little confusion to your beneficiaries and heirs, you need to have this stuff done, because if you don't, this is the messiest part of people's lives. I've seen people that you think are cool. They've been your best auntie, best uncle, mom, dad. But when they realize how much money could be, woo, woo. So I put a period there. My point of saying that is you need to understand how to get your affairs, be comfortable with death, right? Be comfortable with death. I'm going to say it again. Be comfortable with death. We're so happy about life. We should be happy about death. Why? Because it's a cycle. Now, what I've seen, and I'll get back right where I left off, is when we start talking about death, we don't even want to talk about it. Like, I've had family members when I start saying, "Hey, man, we need to talk about," hey, whoa, man, what are you saying? They don't even say it. And I'm like,
Don't even talk
we
about it. Don't
we
conjure it up.
have to talk about it because, believe
Yeah.
it or not, when these stories come out of these stars or these wealthy people not having wills, a lot of
Aretha
us spoke
Franklin.
people get to saying the man did this and the man did that. It was like, nah, brother, that joker just didn't have a will.
Prince didn't have a will.
Now, here's the lighter side of things. We always push independence, self-government, and entrepreneurship. So what I would say is, one, you need to make sure that you have assets, because like certain things like IRAs, life insurance, the government can't touch in a sense. You say, hey, this is going to this person, that's it. They cut a check, there you go. Now as far as wills and everything, believe it or not, there's a way. Well, let me scale back. Even with a will, you're still going to have that can still be timely and costly because the government and the lawyers got to get paid. All right. So right now, let's just assume everybody's on the up and up. Now you hear what I'm saying? Let's assume
I heard a
everybody's okay, because we know what the deal is. But let's just assume everything's on the up and up. Once you pass, you have a will. That could take a year to break down the bank accounts, the assets, and all that other stuff, right? Now, one thing I found out is that you can forego that, and you can set up what they call a revocable trust. Now, with that being said, that's becoming a grown man and a grown woman right there. That's when you're really, cooking with olive oil, like my friend Monty says. You cooking with gas, because now you've had the control and foresight to say, for example, I'll use real estate, that when I pass, the ownership goes from me to the trust. Now the trust, in a sense, owns the assets. So now I don't have to wait for the courts or any lawyer, in a sense, but you do have to have, quote unquote, a lawyer to set this trust up. But you don't have to wait for that transitioning phase. And all this thing about, and which is important, you need to know, joint tenancy and all that, you can deal with that in-house. You know what I'm saying?
correct. That is correct. And I would, what the behind the scenes looks like before Realtors Roundtable. So I showed up without my books right beside me. But you and I know that there are many books that we've read, and we're not advising, again, just to reiterate that, one way or another. Do we teach on these things? Absolutely. But like Craig said, what you do with the information is on you. But things like what would the Rockefellers do? Books, just basic books that will get you thinking and get you investigating and reaching out and wanting more information. And that revocable trust, you're exactly right. That's a big boy and big girls game. And let me say, and it's a game that we didn't know a thing about. And now we're playing catch up because guess who did know about it? Everybody else.
Everybody.
Everybody else. Okay. Okay. So we're playing catch up, not just on that, but also even on. I mean, I think the first thing that you said, and I know because I asked you for 3 points. I know you gave me two, and I apologize. You always make me so excited when you said the main thing: have assets. Don't have 100 collections of Jordans unless it's an asset. I don't know how Jordans appreciate. I don't know. They might. I see your face, Craig, and they might.
No,
They
no, no, no.
might.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm like, yeah, if
Yeah.
it's an asset, if it's
But
appreciated.
but but you know what I heard though, Craig? I heard this from someone teaching a course actually on how we really can determine. See, a lot of where we run into the problem is that when Craig and I sit here and say have assets, you know what I hear the audience saying? Well, what's an asset? That's what we break down for people. That's how we say, okay, it is an asset if it is something that can be turned into a liquid asset or have liquidity within a certain amount of time, right? So those Jordans might have value, but if it's going to take me 3 months to find a Jordan dealer to make my Jordans a liquid asset so I can bury somebody, that ain't an asset that you need. An asset is something that is going to pay you frequently and for a long time. If those Jordans aren't doing that, or and I'm just saying Jordans, please, Michael Jordan, don't come for me. I'm just using it as an example. I could be saying, a crap pipe for our right? But if that isn't so, when we help, so that's one of the things I wanted to say, Craig. Like when you said have assets, some people don't even know what the heck an asset is. They go and take their little tax refund and go talk about, oh, I paid cash for that car. What? So what? You paid $8,000 for a car that, okay, it's not a hoopty, but it's kind of nice. You do what you gotta do. When you could have took $8,000 and got an investment property, that's not an asset.
And what?
And to people's defense, I don't think they know really sometimes when we say have assets, and in all honesty, I don't think they always know. And that's why I think it's important to show and tell. Like Sesame Street. I love Sesame Street, right? So this is a cookie and this is not, right? This is an asset and this is not. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
And what's funny is, and that was one of the third things. One of the things, especially when you start talking about asset liabilities, people get kind of scared of that and things. But what's funny is an asset that most people can afford is whole life insurance. And what's funny about whole life insurance, if constructed correctly, can not only pay you while you're living, it can be a huge legacy or inheritance for when you pass away. So a lot of times people just think it's a death insurance. But when you understand that insurance, and you have to really educate yourself, I'm licensed, obviously. So I can kind of speak on it a little more with expertise. But these are things that people can afford. For example, Big Mama, right? Big Mama. Why? And let's just say you had 5 brothers and sisters. Y'all can't take $1 million policy out, and let's just say it's $1,000, and y'all split that up monthly. So then, right, talking about group economics, not hoping Big Mama die, right? But
you said that. Be comfortable with death.
Right, be comfortable with death. And when y'all hear me say this, look, I'm keeping it 100, okay? I'm not worried about your feelings because I'm like that good friend. I'm going to tell you when you got boogers in your nose, your breath stink. But when you fix that, we all going to be happy, right? So anyway.
Yeah. And I want to thank you again.
Right. And so when you understand that you, within one generation, understanding how asset, you can get a transfer of that wealth of $1 million that everybody can at least have something to now push forward, and you repeat that. And so,
and which is why that goes back to your number 2, the big boy, big girl game, irrevocable trust.
Listen, man, and don't to be completely transparent, right? To be completely transparent, if you can understand what's going to be 3 things: entrepreneurship, how insurance is working, and how these trusts work, you can really insulate your legacy and wealth that can be passed on to your family.
I read something from somebody today, a friend of mine, and so she has this book. I think it was called Born to Create. I will confirm that, audience, and I'll drop that book in any book that I reference. I always want to drop it in the description. And there was a passage in the book that said God was the original entrepreneur. made, made something out of nothing. And there it is. There it is right there, right?
And if and
So
if and if and if and if he or she is the creator and he is your father, then he or she is inside you, right? I can't hear you, Carmellita. Okay,
I mute. I'm so
it's
sorry.
okay.
Yeah, because I'm a lowercase G.
Right,
I'm a little God because God is me. Because
right,
I am.
right.
I am.
And so all this stuff, and that's why, we talk about this, and I'm gonna talk about this really briefly, is in our previous some of the older podcasts we've done. We talk about mindset, man. You got to have faith and believe. Everybody else around you, right, is manifesting things out of thin air.
What? What? What you, did you just say, man? You never
Man,
thought
I
like
mean, I mean, really, like you, like I was telling Carmellita, my homeboy Monty. I got to get Monty on now. He's not a realtor, but he's my homeboy,
I would
investor,
love that
everything,
to deal.
right? And Monty, one day, Monty was telling me, he was like, Craig, let me ask you something. I said, what's up, Monty? He said, Craig, you ever thought about the floor being there when you wake up? I said, what is he talking about? Now, Monty's down south, old, smooth,
Right.
wise brother, right? He got that southern drawl. I said, Monty, what you talking about? He said, Craig, have you ever thought about the floor being there when you wake up? I said, heck no. I know it's going to be there. Now, he said, imagine having that type of confidence in anything you do. I said, God dog. I said, and look, right now it's giving me chills, right?
I love
Because
it.
think about how we approach life, right? Think about how we
Mhm.
approach life. The
Come
moment we
on.
say we think about it, I mean, we're thinking about something, we're second guess. But imagine if we said, I'm going to get real estate right now. Okay, it's done.
And it's done.
It's
And it's
done.
done. Game changer.
So I say all
And
that to put a period there, to put a bow on it. Y'all have all the creativity, strength, love in you right now that the moment you say, I'm trying to change, it's going to happen. That's all.
it's done. It's done. And I'm so excited because our audience member, Madam Goldslayer, whom we love, one of our greatest supporters, she was saying people sleep on these whole life insurance policies, and she's very clear. She's creating a family bank, not just a family bank, but one with a charter. That is no different from the Rockefellers. That is no different from the Kennedys. That is no different from these families. That is what they did. And let me tell you why she says with a charter. Because just like this, for many people, Craig, may be the first generation to even do something like this, right? To break these generational bonds. We then have to go, because you told me to be comfortable with death. So when I transition, I
Uh-huh.
hurt you because you lost all the money.
Mm.
So we have to create these charters, and we have to teach them what the expectations are, what the bylaws are, what the thing, to keep this thing going. I mean, come on, look at the daggone Hilton sisters. They're like the what, sixth generation of their wealth. Those women, Paris Hilton, her sister, have never known what a job is. Never.
And,
That
and,
family's money is protected because there's a charter, there are procedures in place. Think about it. I think we talked about this one time, but I've heard someone say this before. If you ask, let's just say the average person in the black community, What did your grandfather leave you? What would the answer be, do you think?
All
Well,
he
that,
left us was alone.
oh my God. Correct, right? Like when you ask black folks, hey, what did your, matter of fact, not just your grandfather, what your daddy leave you? What your mother leave you? Right? Now, I'm not saying, oh, it's someone's responsibility, but my God, every single generation cannot keep starting over.
Free.
Unacceptable and not necessary. At some point, you make the decision, like you said, to manifest something different. And I can and I can say this, everybody won't make it to the mountaintop with us. Because some people just don't have the mindset. They don't have the wanting desire to change. They don't even respect themselves or their neighbors. So how are they, how are they going to avail themselves or humble themselves to even get this knowledge? So hey, I understand. I get it. Everybody won't be saved, and that's fine. And I don't have a problem with not saving everybody. But for those people that do want to be saved, hey, I'm here. I'm here for all of that. So yeah, I don't have a problem with it at all, folks. So so we know, we will save all who want to receive, Craig. We will save all who want to receive. So that was good. I just definitely wanted to make sure that we kind of drop some terms and drop some information. This is not a platform where we teach. There are platforms where, Craig and I do this separately, but
Well, let
yeah,
me
go
say
ahead.
this one thing is because I'm all about mindset, and the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, by way of Elijah Muhammad, said, "I'm not trying to teach you what to think. I'm trying to teach you how to think." Right, and I'm gonna give some homework for you guys, and the book I want you to get is The Millionaire Next Door. Okay. And then I want you guys to go and Google, search, study R. Nelson Nash, The Infinite Banking. Okay. The reason why I'm telling you to read the book of The Millionaire Next Door is because it's going to get you to understanding once you go on this journey of building this legacy and things like that, what to kind of expect. And so, one of the things that really stuck out from that book when you guys read it, because you're going to read it, is that as the pioneers, because a lot of you guys are going to be the first to set this up, a lot of your wealth, okay, if not properly taught how to manage it and how to accumulate it and pass it on, it's your heirs are going to squabble it in 3 generations. Okay,
Which, yeah, no
so
good.
so one would say, well, why would I even leave them anything, right? And I can understand that. But the point of what we're talking about, trust and wills and understanding that, is to figure out how the ways that if they do mess it up, they ain't gonna mess it all the way up, you know. And then the infinite banking is going by R. Nelson Nash, because there's a lot of people out there. Now, again, I'm not saying that these other people aren't good people, but this guy created the concept. Okay, so I'm giving you the straight source. What you do from there is up to you. But with that, it's teaching you how to create your own banking system where to warehouse your monies. Understand what money is. And there's this one quote, and I don't have it in front of me, but I'm gonna give you the gist, and then we can transition on Carmellita. Is there's a guy, John, I want to say John Quincy Adams or John Adams in the book, and he says that all the uncertainty and ignorance, no, all the uncertainty, perplexities come down to the downright ignorance of the nature of the coin, credit, and circulation. So
Yes. Wow.
what he's telling you is, in this game we call America, right? It's about the money. Understand how the money, the credit, and all that. And a lot of times you'll see people's intention, and I'm gonna leave it there, man. I'm gonna leave it right there.
Yeah, and yes, I feel you. I feel you on that. And then also, the coin, like you said, the coin, the money, and the credit. And I think that is why, for me, my two strongest pushes are, like you said, in the area of mindset and in the area of credit. Because once you hit that 700 plus, you leverage it, and having leverage matters, because when you can leverage something, and trust me, I'm really talking to myself, Craig. I'm not talking to anybody that may watch this video. People may think, listen, I did not know this, and I had wonderful parents that loved me and took care of me and probably indulged me more than they should have, because I am the baby. But anyway, and I had a brother and a sister who were equally as hardworking. I always say they were my second set of parents, and they worked hard, put themselves through school. My parents were good people. They were hard workers. But guess what? Each generation gets to learn more. We get to see more. We get to do more. And I know that they took us very far with the information that they knew. But I tell you, I guarantee you, had they known a lot of this information back then, they would have set us up in a whole different way. So I don't look to, I mean, my father isn't with us anymore, but I never said, oh, my parents should have done this. No, my parents did a damn good job. Now I'm gonna do an even better job. And then when somebody asks my daughter, what did your mother leave you? Oh, she's gonna be like, oh, you see that whole neighborhood? She left me that one. She left me that one. Oh, she left me
And be
all these.
proud of it. And be
Yeah,
proud of it.
and be proud of, you know what I'm saying? And so, and that's not foreign, and it's attainable, it's doable. It's not something, and I'm not saying that we all need to go out here and do all these major things. There are basic things that people can do with one freaking whole life insurance policy. And let me also be very clear. Do not think that a whole life insurance policy is waiting around for you to die. There is value in that policy while you are alive. That's all I'm going to say about that, because I'm not licensed like Craig, but I'm telling you, there's value in that for you that you can also leverage while you are alive. And I'll leave it at that. So that is why we show up on this channel. That is why we come to Realtors Roundtable. That is why I've been doing my podcast for 2 seasons now. And I know that it's already done for me. I've already manifested what's coming to me. I know that the people looking for what we show up and offer, they're going to find us, and they have been finding us. We're good over here. We're trying to help bring more people over here. So please make sure you're giving us that thumbs up. Make sure that you're sharing this information with other people, sharing this camp. And folks, send us questions. If you have questions, you can leave them here in the chat. Our contact information is in there. If you need to talk to Craig specifically, about his area expertise, whatever, it doesn't matter. We just want you reaching out to someone so that you can get the knowledge that you need. And I would also say, Craig, be part of a like-minded community, because we are part of like-minded communities of people who are about the business of manifesting all that we rightfully own, all of our abundance, whatever it looks like for each individual. And that's what we do, and we help each other do those things. So we definitely want to make sure that that you're connecting with any of us. And here we are at 5. The time always goes. We won't talk about the beige book today. That's a whole nother conversation. I might drop it in there for homework for folks to do. But yeah, no, we won't talk about the beige book today. But I do want to just touch on the article really quickly, if you don't mind. So I'm going to show you guys. Let me see here if I'm able to share my screen. We're going to get it. Look, I'm really being fancy today,
Yo,
Craig.
Lord. She said, let me share my screen on y'all. Kablow.
I know it. It's getting fancy out here. Let's see. I don't know what it's going to share. I hope I won't be embarrassed. Okay, let's see. Let me share anything. I don't think so. Hold on, let me see. Well, if I show you the screen, I do. There we go. What does it show? Do you see the article? Yes, I did it right. This is an article um, about this gentleman, Thomas W. Mitchell. Okay, and I'll stop shaming. Which basically, and I just wanted to show you over that link in there as well. It talks about the situation that I talked about at the beginning of the segment in reference to the Reels brothers in North Carolina. Well, Mr. Mitchell is talking about how these occurrences also were very impactful on the West Coast. Okay. So we go from the South, okay, here, and then how that also, as far as losing legacy land, was very prevalent and impactful on the West Coast. And then in his research, he begins to kind of, backtrack coast to coast, because for me, I've only lived on the East Coast, even though I've been other places, and I am from the southern region of the East Coast. But so we know that in the South, losing legacy land was prevalent. But what I have now learned is that also on the West Coast, those things were happening as well. And I actually sat in last night. I think I told you, Craig. I sat in on that panel that my brother was a part of, and they were talking about the Greenwood Reparations Project at the University of Tulsa. Let me tell you what I never knew. I never knew that it had been petitioned, and it was the proposal that Oklahoma become an all-black state. Did you ever know that?
What?
I never knew that ever in my life until last night. Yes.
Do you want to hear something funny? We went to Oklahoma, me and my wife, because we had this thing, 50 states and 50 dates, right? And we went to Oklahoma, right? And it's actually dealing with real estate, right? Their football team is called the Oklahoma Sooners, right? Hold on one second.
And that's for a reason too.
Yeah. Yes, sir. I'm sorry about that, y'all. Yeah, so we're in this stream that goes around like the city. And so they were talking about the Sooners. So me being who I am, I always ask questions. So I'm like, why they call them the Sooners? So check this out, y'all. So they said that there was a race. Now this is a true story according to the guy. There was a race that people gathered around, and they said the race, which was great. Thank you, man. Thank you, yeah, no problem. Oh, you too. What was crazy is the race was for people to lay their stake like a flag into the land. So they literally, like, okay. Imagine someone saying, all right, on your mark, get set, go, and you running and just putting your stake in land and saying that that's yours. What's up, Cleon? Right? So that was the objective of the race. So what happened was the race was, let's just say it was on a Monday. On a Sunday, there were some people. Now they already cheating, right? Because who has a race just to put, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, so the Sunday before, assuming that it was a Sunday, there were people that went to the finish line, set up tents. So when when the race finished, they were already on the land they claimed. So they tell me this, and I'm like, that's terrible, right? So I'm dampening the mood and all that, right? So then my next question was this, and I'll put a period here. I said, so you're telling me that there was a race for land, and you could just go and put the land in there, and then somebody else cheated and got the land before everybody else. So I said, so where was the Native Americans? And the whole boat got quiet. So this is my whole point of saying that was, you see the environment we're in, and a lot of it outside of the treachery is surrounded about land. We're on a Realtors Roundtable, so you better get you a piece of land. You know, that's all I'm saying.
Thank you for that. I'm glad. Yes, yes. Where were the Native Americans and how you just gonna stake your claim? But guess what, folks? This is what we've been saying from the beginning. That's really how a lot of these things happen, and that's why and many, not just those Native Americans, but those blacks. There were original blacks and Native Americans that existed. But then here come these people who told the Native Americans, "Hey, y'all are like our distant cousins, right? Why they do that? Because they all over the land, right? So they're like, oh, that's my cousin. Go ahead and let him put that little piece of wood down. I don't know what he's doing. Yeah, well, you know now. You know what he's doing now. Here's our brother Cleon. Hey, Cleon. How are you?
Whatever happened to that petition, though, for the all-black state for Oklahoma?
It got, of course, well, we know what happened. And what happened, it got waylaid. And then, you know what, I will research that. Actually, I'll make myself a note and I will actually ask. Let me tell you, some of the most, Cleon, I'm talking about a roundtable I participated in last night, a forum that's talking about Black Wall Street or Greenwood in Oklahoma. And some of the greatest young minds, a young doctor, she's the archaeologist. So she's doing the actual physical archaeological work, as well as tracking the remaining actual pieces of Black Wall Street or Greenwood, which are spread all over the country, to petition to bring them back for the museum. So somebody might have a brick, someone has a door, someone has, and
Really?
Yes, and so they are actually, it's kind of like a multiple pronged approach, because they also filed a lawsuit. So that this, first of all, they used to call it, they used to call it a riot. And so, Craig, you and I know in the insurance world, when you deem something a riot, you don't get your insurance payments, right? Now they call it a massacre. Now that they've called it a massacre, they've reopened the case. It is a criminal case.
Wow, yep. And apparently, if I'm not mistaken, that was one of the first times they used airplanes to bomb.
That is correct. That is correct, against their own people. So yeah, it almost was like, but let me tell you what I love the most, and then I want to catch Cleon up on what we were talking about before we end. But here's what I love the most. The young doctor, Dr. Adelawe. She's a young archaeologist there at UT, University of Tulsa. She's a native of Tulsa. She said that the word massacre doesn't resonate with her, because a massacre indicates that you just stood there.
Oh man.
She said that she's more comfortable with like slaughter or like terrorism or something like that.
Right.
She said because those residents, so we're talking about estate planning, right? And we know now, I'm going to remind the audience, if you don't know, my pillars, number 4 and 5, are educate, protect, okay? Educate yourself, plan, and protect. She said, and let me tell you how she knows, because she grew up in Tulsa. She grew up at the feet of the 3 survivors, Dr. Taylor being one of them, that also lived in Tulsa. She said that those men and women in Tulsa gave the fiercest battle ever. Fiercest battle. She said that in their minds, and we started Cleon talking about mindset, they clearly made a decision. They said, you know what? We don't know what the ham sandwich is happening here, because you got to understand, they cut the telephone communication. So nobody knew what was going on. They said, we don't know what's going on here, but you know what they did? They got their weapons. They started lining up cars, putting up blockades. The women came out with bats and shot. They didn't know what was going on, but they knew they were under attack. And she said they gave the fiercest battle ever. And see, those are the things that get lost. So if they knew that what they had built, my God, what they had built was so valuable and worth protecting. And you know what's happening there now that they need protection from? The gentrification that's happening. Gentrification is not a bad thing. We can
Mm-hmm.
all gentrify our own neighborhoods. But unfortunately, the native Tulsans are not the people gentrifying Greenwood. So yeah, so it's interesting. So we're glad to see you, Cleon. We were talking about our estate planning. Craig gave us some great insight because that's one of his areas. How have you been, Cleon? We've been missing you. The audience has been missing Cleon. Can you? Oh, I'm sorry. Are you muted, Cleon? Yes, you are. Did I do that? No. There you
Yes,
go, brother.
I'm glad to be back. For a little bit, I was out with my clients, and the end of the year coming and the elections, some folks out of the blue saying, yes, we need to go out right now. So can't say no to that. So again, I appreciate the opportunity to be back on with both of you guys again.
We love
So yeah.
Cleon. And let me tell you what's up. Let me tell you, Craig, Cleon is so OG. He comes in dropping the fire. You know what he said? And we just talked about this to the audience. You said with the end of the year coming. Yeah, why? Because they know. Get some real estate. They know what that's going to do for them in the year to come. And yes.
Yeah, so we have yes, yeah. Some of it is just a matter of, you know, setting up, I call them strategy sessions. Okay, let's talk about what your 2021 is going to look like. And when I showed them the plan, they said, why am I waiting until 2021? I should be doing some of this now. So it's a great time to, if you're thinking to do something in 2021, get with your financial advisor, which is what the three of us are, to plan your route for next year. And you can start it now. You can start it now.
Yes. There is no reason to wait. And I love that Cleon is so wise. I love that he shares that because there is no reason to wait. That's what I said on my podcast last week. You know, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. And if you missed that, then now is the best time.
Absolutely.
So now is always the best time. Like I said, reach out to any of us. Our contact information is always in the description of this video. And like, you know, I really feel like because of all of the courses and classes that we take, and we do this because we want the information for ourselves, but we also make sure that we use it to help our clients, that between the three of us, oh my gosh, if we don't know it, trust me, we know somebody who does know it. And that is our goal, to connect you with the people that are able to help you. And I think right now I feel so encouraged. I love these guys. I'm so lucky to be able to do this with people that, and let me tell you the funny part, like we don't all always agree on the same thing, but these are some of the smartest guys that I know. So I just have to always say how lucky I am to be able to just sit here and run my mouth with smart people. Like that is my ideal day. So many people are really curious. They're starting to listen and ask questions like, wow, really? I can do that? Or I should have done that? Well, yeah, come and talk to us. We don't bite. We don't bite at all. I don't know about Cleon, but we don't, no, we don't bite at all. And we love having these conversations, and we love helping. I think at the end of the day, that's the message we always want to get across. We did not get a chance, Cleon. We were so busy getting into the estate planning and you know, looking at things that the audience members are going to be doing. But so we're going to talk about the beige book next week, and that one's going to be a very, very interesting conversation. If you haven't heard of that, I'll make sure. Well, of course, you can Google it. It will be in the description of the video for next week. But there's just so much information out there, and we're not asking you to go out here and find all this information and learn about all this stuff. We'll just bring you as much, you know, just a snippet, and then whatever you need more of, we can help do that for you. So, folks, we are almost at an hour, so I want to thank everybody for showing up. Please make sure you give us those thumbs up, whether you're watching it now live or you see the replay, and feel free to share with other folks, because that's how we help people find this platform and to find us and connect with us. And it doesn't matter where you are in the country. You can always reach out to us, email us, and we can definitely speak with you and help you as well. I'm Carmellita of the Realest Realtor. Thank you guys for tuning in to this Roundtable. I was joined by my brother, I started Cleon.
Hello, Craig Gilbeaux Jr. I didn't hear you.
Look at how your brother jumped in there, Cleon. Go ahead, Craig Gilbeaux.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, my name's Craig Gilbeaux Jr. And I deal with investments, insurance, all that good stuff. And I'm going to give it to you like a TI is, like my man Bernie Mac.
Cleon Smith, a realtor, investor, and recently short sale and foreclosure representative. So that's our newest one.
Thank you. I love it. We're just like siblings. It's just like Craig's like, I'm Craig.
I know what was going on, Lord.
Folks, we leave you in the manner in which we found you, and we always hope that is in peace. Thank you so much for joining us this week, and we will see you next week here on the YouTube channel called Carmellita at 4:30 for Realtors Roundtable. Have a great day, folks.